Brainstorm? I sleep. Brainstorm? Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and before we get started today, we're going to take a little walk down memory lane. If you've been with the channel for quite some time, you might remember this relatively janky deck list from 3 years ago. This mono green enchantment storm list, featuring Tendrils of Agony, honorary green card. And the idea was kind of cool. Use effects like Enchantress's Presence and Argothian Enchantress to go and draw a bunch of cards. And you're going to play a bunch of 1-mana enchantments, many of which give you mana back. And since a bunch of these things go on lands and tap for a mana, you can then untap your lands and you have ways to get extra land drops. And the deck had this conceptual idea of wanting to be able to rebuy enchantments from the graveyard, as some of these can just be sacked directly to draw a card. And the primary win condition was supposed to be Aeve, Progenitor Ooze, a creature with Storm that makes non-legendary copies of itself, and each one of these gets a +1/+1 counter for each other Ooze you control when it resolves. So this can ramp up to a relatively large amount of power quickly. And the league was, unfortunately, an unmitigated disaster. It was an 0-5 league. We put a couple of win attempts onto the board, and it just didn't really pan out. And I got a donation deck list from Joey that was very wide open, sent a link to this, and said, do what you can, or if that fails and you think you can't do anything like this, build me a Lingering Souls deck. And we are going to try to build a very, very different looking Aeve Progenitor Ooze deck. And I want to try to build a green Storm deck, but I don't think it's realistic to be mono green. And in case you want to be a mad lad and try this one out, I will link this deck list in the video description as well, although I don't recommend going for it. It wasn't powerful enough 3 years ago, and it certainly isn't going to work now. So I gave myself 2 constraints when doing this. Number 1, I wanted the green Storm cards to be the win condition. That means Aeve, Progenitor Ooze, as well as Chatterstorm. And number 2, I wanted it to remain spicy. And so we're going to try to make this into a Gaia's Cradle deck. Here we go. Joey, here is my take on a green Storm deck for 2025, soon to be 2026. We're going to make this a green-red deck with honorary green-red card Echo of Eons. And one of the things that I'm going to try to build around is actually Pinnacle Emissary. I have been noticing that this card plus a lot of free artifacts is bananas. And I wonder if we can just play this in a Storm deck as an alternate win condition of, okay, I'm going to play this as the first thing that I do on my turn. Then I'm going to play out all of my artifact mana. If you stop the Pinnacle Emissary, I will just do my Storm thing later on in the turn, and you haven't actually stopped me from doing what I want to do. So, Pinnacle Emissary making all of these drone tokens, or Chatterstorm making all of these squirrel tokens, is then going to funnel us into Gaia's Cradle mana, which is what is going to allow us to play Aeve. That is the overall goal of this deck. Now, I am no Bryant Cook. I am not a Storm expert. I do not expect that these numbers are correct, but I'm hoping that this is a good enough starting point so that if you want to try this out on your own, you can. There are a few things that I'm not certain about here. Number 1, how many Manamorphose is correct? I think there are going to be times where I don't necessarily have easy access to triple green. And so I wanted a couple of Manamorphose as something that could just replace itself and could filter into green or maybe blue if I need it. It is possible that this should just be 3 more baubles, and that we should get Urza's bauble in here as well. And we are going full-on glass cannon mode here. This is very much, we're going to try to shove, and we're going to hope it works. And in the post-sideboard games, we can have some things that say no to counterspells. Generally speaking, I think one of the big problems with playing a Chatterstorm or Empty the Warren style deck right now is that Tamiyo is a menace. We are going to go the entire playset of Pithing Needle in the sideboard to say no to the backside of Tamiyo, and it's not like it doesn't do other things as well, but that is what this absurd number of Pithing Needles is for. So buckle up, it's probably going to be a very fast ride one way or another, and if you need your copies of Chatterstorm or anything else to try to make this crazy Storm deck work, please check out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com, and use my promo code ThrabenU to get yourself some cool cards while supporting me and the person who supports me. And you get free shipping. What's not to love there? All right, buckle up, folks. Let's battle. This is a spicy one. Okay, opening hand. Storm 1, Storm 2, Storm 3, 4 squirrels. I think we can do better. Ooh. This one's awkward. I don't have the starting mana source for Pinnacle Emissary until I play both of these cards. And at that point, Pinnacle Emissary is not making friends. I think I'm going to 5. On 5, this is probably fine. Memnite, Bauble, Mox Opal. Yeah, it's going to be a keep. This is going... I'm going to get rid of this. This gives me the 4 squirrels on turn 1 like the first hand, but we got looks at some more powerful things. We've got a Ponder on the other side of the table. That is a second Chatterstorm. I do not have the mana for, but it'll give me something to do in a minute. So spell 1, spell 2, spell 3. Opponent dazes, which stops everything that I'm doing, unfortunately. Do I pay? No, because I want to sacrifice the Bauble. That's very unfortunate, because the next thing here can't be dazed effectively. Opponent is on Doomsday. I will take my Bauble redraw. Opponent is just going to play land and pass. So I probably just Chatterstorm immediately for a small amount. 19. In hopes of doing as much damage as I can for a Doomsday. Unfortunately, my opponent is probably a Tamiyo deck. This is an unimpressive Chatterstorm, but you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. We have 3 squirrels. I actually think I'm gonna tighten up a little bit and not do this until my opponent's turn, out of respect for discard. Opponent could have Bowmasters in game 1. I find that very unlikely. Here's land drop 2. There's enough mana for the Doomsday that I know they have. There is a said Doomsday. My opponent is going to go to 9, and I don't have a 2-turn clock. My opponent can take their sweet time here. Alright, opponent to 9. Let's check what all is in exile here. So we are Tempo Doomsday, we've got Tamiyos, we've got Murktide Regent. Do we have tutors for Doomsday? We do not have tutors for Doomsday. I think I'm actually going to keep this in play as a mana source, so that any mana source means that I have a 2-turn clock. I expect to die on my opponent's next turn. This is the wrong time to draw that card. Send it. Opponent is at 5. Now I've got a 2-turn clock no matter what. Let's just see what's going on over there. Rainstorm. Got it. That is the wrong time to draw this card. We want to have this in our opening hand, or we want to have it after we have a Gaia's Cradle. But we're down a couple of cards from the opener, unfortunately. Yeah, and this is unfortunate. My opponent is passing a turn, so if we hit that mana source for the Chatterstorm, I'm good to go. So this brings my opponent to 1. They just need to put a win attempt on the stack next turn, which I imagine is very easy to do. All Chatterstorm. But my opponent can just draw a card, play Thassa's Oracle, and I don't have removal, so like that is just good enough, even if my opponent can't cycle here. Yeah, so we win that one if Mox Opal resolves in game 1. GG. All we needed is just, one more squirrel. Okay, so the only question here is, do I Veil of Summer? I think the answer is no. I think I am just shoving on turn 1 and not waiting for bonus backup mana. If I were to board in Veil, I could consider doing something like not playing Echo. I don't hate the idea of going down on some of the Echo stuff. Alright. Opal, LED, Echo. So it is just fully a YOLO. If my opponent has a counterspell, I'm dead in the water. I don't love that. Try to do better. Oh god, that's both echoes in hand. No red mana for gamble either. Alright, go to 5. Well, this is another YOLO hand. On 5, I accept that. So this is my 5. So we play out the artifacts. There's Opal, Iga, Gamble. This is the Force of Will point. Here's Echo. I'm not gonna float mana. I don't know what color I want. This could also be a Force of Will point. It still works here. Oh shit. Oh my god, no payoff card in 7 cards. That is 7 mana sources. Oh, oh, that's rough. My opponent has a completely random hand. Hopefully I just draw a payoff card and everything is fine. Otherwise we're just attacking for 1. That is not a payoff card. I'll put the land drop into play. Send it. I believe in you, Memnite. Alright, opponent is doing their thing, which is exceptionally bad for me, obviously. Okay, opponent's got a Wasteland. I will lose Taiga. Sure. Would have been the funniest fucking Echo of Eons ever, right? Are we hard casting this? Alright. Boy, this is sad. 1, 2, 3. Cast Elvish Spirit Guide. Munchies for 1. Opponent to 8. We've got a Brainstorm. I suspect that that means that I am going to die this turn. If my opponent has... Ooh. Lotus Petal after Cavern on Wizard. Opponent is passing. I have drawn a lot of mana sources in a row. Send it for 3. Opponent at 5. Merfolk, Wizard, Uncounterable. 2 cards in library. That'll do. I feel like the luck was not with us there. So we'll try again next round. GG. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you're looking to store your decks online, you're not going to find a better website. It's super organized and easy to use, and I sort everything that I do into a ton of format-specific folders, and you can customize the way that you use Moxfield to your liking. Whether you like text views or visual views of multiple different natures, Moxfield has it all. And it's so easy to use, you might even say that it's a snap. Alright, opening hand. Iga, Pinnacle Emissary, cast Opal, have Metalcraft. This is 1 mana. I probably have to wait till turn 2. My turn 2 is probably impressive. I'm pretty close to being able to just play both copies of Chatterstorm. I have 3 of 4 mana available. I'll have a redraw for turn and a redraw off of Manamorphose. I think I'm in. Ruby Medallion. Alright, we're both playing Oddball Storm decks. Okay, well, here we go. Pinnacle Emissary. LED. Always yield to this. Mox Opal. Iga. Manamorphose. Let's make a red and a green. Lion's Eye Diamond. Shatterstorm. For a respectable number of squirrels. So this is 9 power that stays in play. So we're not quite a 2-turn clock, but we're pretty close. I'll be a 2-turn clock counting playing either this or this, and I can use the LEDs to cast this. Fuck, was I supposed to just crack both LEDs and get Pinnacle Emissary into play immediately? Didn't think about that until I had already passed the turn. Alright, opponent is making their win attempt, and they're going to be sending a bunch of cards into exile. Desperate Ritual into Ral. So Ral is both kind of like a mana rock and a win condition in one, once you start thinking about the Planeswalker side. So now my opponent sends 3 cards into exile. So Storm of Memories. This card is pretty sweet. Alright, so let's talk about this. So this has Storm, obviously, so it does this thing, right? So each one of these resolves 1 at a time. So you can end up casting things in between these copies and ending up with other things in Graveyard that you end up playing. Alright, so Ral is this guy now. And the Storm of Memories gets to keep churning here. So this is the last thing in Graveyard. So we'll see if my opponent plays something from exile here before this last one happens. No, they are just letting the stack empty. So opponent goes for the top 8 there. That is a Burning Wish already, and there's Metamorphose. So I think this is already very easy lethal. If I can see the writing on the wall, I think I'm just going to concede here. My opponent's got this one. Are we YOLO again? I think we're just YOLO again. There's some fringe things that I could do here. Like, I think when I'm on the play, I'm just going to try to Goldfish my opponent, and when I'm on the draw, I'm going to play Force of Vigor. Alright. How much mana do I make? Simian Spirit Guide, Pinnacle Emissary, make 2 friends. Have 2 green mana, that does not get me here. Gamble doesn't do anything, I'll ship this one. Second hand does not get to 5 mana, cannot LED. That's not gonna do it. We'll go to 5. The 5 card hand goes Taiga, Pinnacle, Memnite, LED, Echo? That seems insane. Get rid of you. Get rid of you. Opponent's on 7. Probably can't interact with me. So we're just going in. Always yield to this. This is hopefully going to be pretty darn sweet. Sack for blue. Echo. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So Mox Opal. From Mox. I might end up casting this. Hard casting that. I think we're going to go Spirit Guide under and Chatterstorm with a storm of 7. So that is 7 squirrels, 4 drones, a Memnite, and a partridge in a pear tree in play on turn 1. My opponent now also has a completely random hand, playing a Ral. You've got it. Is green under here. So let's go bam. I almost wish that I had imprinted this here. I would get one thing deeper this turn. So I'll do Pinnacle Emissary, and then I will do a small Chatterstorm. Replace the one that Ral is gonna give up for the block. Send them. Rip Memnite. Still very easily have lethal for the next turn. Hey, we've got a game win. And that was a 5-card hand, right? That was relatively impressive. That's what we want to do. Now for this game, where I'm on the draw, I might want to consider Force of Vigor or my opponent's Ruby Medallion. I'm looking at my green count. This is less hard castable than I might like. If I keep all of the green cards, this is 16. Doesn't interact with Ral, it's just Ruby Medallion. I could also Leyline of the Void for the red memory card, I forget what it's called. The new 5-mana Storm one. Leyline of the Void is not crazy. I'm just gonna believe. I think my deck is about shoving turn 1 wins. This may just mean that my sideboard is built wrong, but it feels like my opponent is gonna pretty consistently Goldfish me on about turn 3. And I think that means that I just need to go on turn 1 as consistently as possible because I might need 2 attack steps to get my opponent. I think I'm going to say no to this one. The Metamorphose are kind of unknown cards here. This is 2 Echoes. So if I keep this hand, it's Lotus Petal, Gamble. As long as I don't discard LED, we're in business. I think I'm in for it. But this is like very much a like, let's go gambling moment where I can relatively easily just lose to variance that is outside of my control. Opponent passes. Here we go. So Lotus Petal into Gamble. I will have 6 cards in hand. There's a 1 in 6 chance that I discard the LED here. LED. Didn't happen. So we now junk our opponent's hand. I need to gamble again. And I need Shatterstorm. Okay. So let's gamble for that. Ooh. That was actually the card I didn't want to discard. Because that means that Mox Opal is not online. Rough. Yeah, so this is Storm of 5 past turn. Fuck. I guess I could have done Gamble for Emissary. Ooh, opponent does not have mana. So we both got wheeled into awkward hands. Memnite'll do. Memnite. From Mox. Imprint. You. Mox Opal. Green mana. Mox Opal. Keep you. Green mana. Make 5 squirrels. 6 power in play. Opponent is missing land drops. Now, once opponent hits the land drops, I'm probably in trouble. Gamble is not doing anything right now. I don't know that I'm going to cast that card this game. Yeah, opponent is still discarding. And they are discarding 2 drops here. This is not a clean 2-turn clock, unfortunately. I think I am just passing here. We have gotten the full-on ugh in chat. Yeah, honestly, fair. Send it. Opponent is at 2. Ancient Tomb is not a live draw anymore. We will Chrome Mox, imprint a Gamble, and make a couple more squirrels. This game is fully outside of our control. Does our opponent draw a land? We have gotten the GGs. The wheel my opponent into 7 non-land cards strategy has worked. And opponent says, the echoes were very bad for my mana base this match. Yeah, look at that. GG. Squirrels on the board. Ooh, this looks like it's going to be sweet. Land pass. Turn 2, Pinnacle Emissary, LED, Gaia's Cradle. Yeah, I'm going to keep this. I think I'm not going to play Pinnacle Emissary on 1. There's some gamble lines as well that I don't think I'm a fan of. Let's just go Taiga pass here. We've got a blue land. So opponent has a Delver deck. So we've got Dazes and some number of force effects to be thinking about. Opponent says no to one of them, which is very good for me, honestly. It might just mean they have one already. Another Bauble. And cycling immediately. My opponent will be back to 4 cards on my turn. Alright. This is a pretty important card. And it does eat the days, which means that my Gaia's Cradle is not live as a mana source, which is unfortunate. I will have gamble-based lines for next turn, though. That was very good for my opponent. I'm at 17. I think I'm just going to chill. I don't think I'm going to cycle Bauble immediately. I'm taking 3 damage a turn as of right now. When my opponent plays the second creature, I think I have to go into overdrive. Given that I have the Cradle in play, when I play the first Chatterstorm, I can probably play the second as well. Or that. I will cycle the Bauble next turn, if I don't draw anything that goes with it. Opponent can do a little more selection here. Shuffles, but makes the next land drop. I'll go down to 11. Alright, well, I will have the ability to make a very large number of squirrels at some point. Oh no, there's another daze coming. That's not great. Hopefully my opponent fetches. They do. Now there still could be other counterspells. Like, they got rid of this at the beginning of the game. Redraw. Okay. Ori Steelcutter is now happening. This is the second threat. And my deck does not win immediately. I require a combat step, probably multiple combat steps. So this is bad. So that lightning bolt is very bad. I think I need a red source to gamble. And I think it is LED lines that help me out here. Nope, that's a third Gaia's Cradle. That'll do. If the Pinnacle Emissary on turn 1 resolves so that Gaia's Cradle is mana, I can probably do multiple Chatterstorms over the course of that game, and that just did not happen here. Let's get some Veils in. I think I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of Manamorphose and make that swap that way. I could Pithing Needle for Wasteland, but I think at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of times where if I use my mana the first time, that's all that I need it for. Okay. This is weird because I want to just Pinnacle Emissary. I want to go this. But that means that Veil of Summer isn't first. I think I keep it, and Veil of Summer is for a second attempt. So warp this, both worked. Now I can Lotus Petal, LED, and this is 5 power on turn 1, and I have the mana to unwarp one of these later with this stuff. We'll see how it plays out. I don't care if my opponent plays a DRC, I think. Bruh. Come on. Come on. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. Alright. Next match. 7 permanents, 1 mana. Fuck me. Well, and vomits a bunch of Pinnacle Emissary tokens into play immediately, and then probably takes some redraws. Resolve is great. We'll have a respectable amount of power in play. Actually, I'll wait on that for discard-based reasons. Warp this out. I can put it into play next turn using LEDs. Marsh Flats, or Underground Sea, and Thoughtseas. I mean, that's why we waited on the bobble. Oh, weird lag burst there. Swords to Plowshares coming. Noted. Gaia's Cradle. Multiple Gaia's Cradles, in fact. So if I play this, it just eats a Swords. I don't know that I play that until I can at least get another thing out of it. 14. Ponder is fine. And a Surveil land, notably not white mana. Opponent says no to Swords. Alright. Drop a Taiga. Go to Punchies. Send in for 3. So if I do this with LED, I don't actually play Chrome Mox. I think I just make my opponent spend some mana answering that. It's in play. 2 mana for Katara. Sure. And my opponent is, on my turn, going to Swords this to get the counter on Katara. Alright. But Katara doesn't fly. Down to 7. Opponent probably wants to be attacking with that. I'll just play out the Memnite. We'll see whether or not we get over the hump before my opponent stabilizes. So as of right now, this is just a draw and discard. I don't think I need to be blocking with Memnite here. Murktide Regent is the flyer that I did not want to see. Well, 4 cards remaining. See what you're working with. Cast Echo. Swords on a Memnite. Sure, I'll tap this now. Alright, Murktide gets 1 bigger. Now, what do I want to gamble for? I don't think I am going for an LED. I think I'm going for Aeve. So I will gamble. There's Aeve. Straight to discard. Fuck. I guess I will go ahead and warp this. Play out these. Yeah. Am I casting a Spirit Guide? I think I am just casting a Spirit Guide. This is so unfortunate. This was going to be such a big pile of oozes. Get 1 more out of that. No imprint, obviously. And pass turn. We'll hold the other Cradle for later. I think I'm going for lethal in 1 burst next turn. I don't think I'm going to throw away a creature to Murktide Regent here. Opponent has 8 cards in hand. Cameo is bad. Cameo is one of those things that just beats my deck, right? Just by design. The way that we beat Tameo is not having discarded this. I think I'm just dead to Tameo Plus in game 1. Like, I need to draw an Echo. What are you all doing? Hold on. Sorry, the cats were fighting. I think I'm going to just concede here, rather than try to play a game where I chump block Murktide Regent for 6 turns while my opponent generates Katara value. And they've got 7 cards in hand as well. I think I'm not going to pretend that this is a real game. And then I want to interact with some number of these cards here. Ah, that gamble was savage. I think I'm going to go Manamorphose out, Empty out, or 4x Pithing Needle, and we'll interact with Tameo rather than counter spells. I don't know that we get to do both at the same time. This is a fine opening hand if my opponent does not have a counterspell, and a pretty bad one if they do. So this is Chrome Mox, Imprint Gamble. I will play out every card in my hand. Yeah, yeah, Gamble, Echo. I think I'm only going to crack one LED. Past Echo. That's why I'm only cracking one LED. So now I have a Memnite in play and really kind of need another Gamble or another Echo. There's a Tamiyo. I'll take this redraw. Basic Island coming. This is a good news, bad news situation where I have this, but if I play it, my opponent doesn't flip Tamiyo. But if I hold this in hand, it can be thought seized. So I think we just do this. Notably, need to name the Planeswalker side here. Basic Swamp. Tamiyo still just gets to be a clue machine, unfortunately. Something I was talking about in my Discord recently, where I said, like, yeah, Pithing Needle is fine versus the Tamiyo Planeswalker, but, like, there is this exact problem when it comes to sequencing. So I will make a friend, and I will intend on playing this from exile at some point. I'll crash in. You've got a Bowmasters, you're already killing a bunch of things, so be it. Alright. Life's bad. Opponent gets to accumulate clues. Okay, well, I mean, I'm not winning without doing it. So, here we go. Second Bowmaster. Brainstorm. Tamiyo has to transform. Second Bowmaster. Cool. Goodbye to Memnite. I can't Echo again. This hand is not producing lethal. I'm just going to stop my opponent from stacking all of those. They've got this one. GG. We knew we weren't really going to beat Tamiyo decks. Alright, what does this one do? Land, Mox Opal, Bobble, not enough for Metalcraft Mox Opal. I think we'll ship this one. 1 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana, not 4 mana. Definitely not 5 mana. I think we'll go to 5. This is so close. This is so close. Are we now fishing for LED Echo? I think we are now fishing for LED Echo. LED Echo. And I get to keep 4 cards. Yes. Get rid of Gamble. Keep the things that have power and toughness. Alright. Memnite. Lion's Eye Diamond. I think my opponent has a counterspell. In which case, we're probably dead. Alright. I mean, we mulled to 4. Opponent has Polluted Delta and passes the turn. I don't imagine that Memnite attack for 2 is super realistic as a way to win. This just gets answered by something like an Orcish Bowmasters. It is Undercity Sewers again. We're playing against Doomsday again. This is a deck that we're pretty good at racing. We just needed my opponent to not have the initial counterspell. Tempo Doomsday, from the look of things. Chatterstorm. I don't need all that much more damage to threaten my opponent. Oh, but you've got Bowmasters. Yikes. That's not overly common in game 1. Alright. Yeah, so opponent having that means that my chip damage stops. And I probably have to be at 4 or 5 cards before I have another realistic storm attempt. The Bowmasters is also bad, as I am an Echo deck. Alright, I'm going to take one here. Hey, there's the Echo I was talking about. Well, there's the LED that I was talking about. And LED Echo was one of our better outs to this situation. The opponent has LED piles of their own. Alright, my cat's complaining. I'm going to go see what my cat's doing while they resolve their Doomsday pile. Literally just yowling for pets from the other room. But have just walked up to me. The door's open. Anyway, we can see that my opponent is hovering over Edge of Autumn as one of the cards that they are going to take. Alright, so let's check out Exile here. Alright, Immediate Cycle. Yeah, so it looks like there's 2 copies of Bowmasters. There's a Street Wraith as well. Yeah, so opponent managed to find room for Tamiyo and Murktide and Bowmasters in game 1 while keeping the Lion's Eye Diamond in the deck. GG. I think the game that I'm on the play, I'm just going to shove. And the game that I'm on the draw, I need to be thinking about Veil of Summer. Veil of Summer for Bowmaster triggers going at my face as well. Alright, what are we doing? I think mulliganing. I have a little bit of mana, not a payoff that I can quite get to. Let's ship this one. Second hand goes red, this, bam, 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 and can keep an echo for if I draw an LED off of these 2 redraws. That's fine. So we warp. 1, always yield to that. 2, 3. This is 4 power in play on turn 1 versus Doomsday, and I get 2 redraws towards doing something busted. If my opponent thought seizes me, it's kind of funny because that puts the echo in the graveyard, which is where I would like it to be. See what opponent's up to. Alright, they are going to use their turn to sculpt. I will have 3 cards on my turn other than this echo. Hopefully I can do something cool. 4 power in play on turn 1 is pretty good. But we'd like to follow up Pinnacle Emissary with Chatterstorm. Just is not working out that is actually happening a lot of the time. So you're getting an island. Double check just to make sure. Yep, that was definitely an island. So double redraw. Well, shit. Send in for 4. 15. Is it just better to play this from exile? I think it is. A little weird. But I don't know that I want to give my opponent a fresh 7. Let's crack for blue, go red, play this from exile. This is done around a daze, doesn't give my opponent fresh cards, and probably puts them on a 2-turn clock. Alright, that's not a Tameo. Opponent shuffled with a previous ponder, keeps with this one. I have 7 damage in play. With Polluted Delta, that is a 2-turn clock. Chrome Mox is a little weird here. If I imprint it, I can echo. I think I just play it as one more dude. In case we start getting into, like, Bowmaster ping block situations. So, is my opponent fetching? I imagine they have to. You can fetch, surveil very aggressively, or either something that lets you combo win, or something that buys a turn. Is something like a Murktide good enough? Murktide block, Pinnacle Emissary, take 5, be at 2. They're in the tank about it. Not fetching. There might have been another card off the ponder they needed. Basic land. Not one that has pips towards Doomsday. There's the Doomsday choosing not to crack Delta first. Oh, interesting. Looks like opponent went into Douthie Voidwalker stuff in anticipation of it being good versus Echo. Alright, we have a Brainstorm. The opponent can... Okay, that'll work too. So there's Edge of Autumn. My opponent can now crack this. Fetch. Okay, that works too. There's a Thassa's Oracle in graveyard and another one in hand. We are coming up just literal points of damage short versus Doomsday here. So GG. We put up a game win in the league, but I think there is some tuning to be done. All right, so this is a second failed attempt at trying to make Aeve reasonable in Legacy. Overall thoughts on the deck list. If I am not trying to force the green here, maybe there is something to an incredibly heavy artifact-based Storm deck, where this is just a 1-mana win condition that you play first. Maybe there is something to that. The way things lined up, we didn't very frequently line up Chatterstorm with the Gaia's Cradle mana. We want to make this lower to the ground. So that would probably mean cutting all of these. You could play more Empty the Warrens and just have 4 mana be the end of the curve. I was not overly impressed by Metamorphose. That was there out of desire to make this more castable. So I think that's 6 slots to mess with. So these can end up becoming 3 more copies of Empty the Warrens, 3 more 0-cost artifacts, and you just are trying to YOLO immediately with one of Pinnacle Emissary, Chatterstorm, or Empty. Echo works as well. Having a few more payoff cards so that the times that you do Echo, you don't miss a win condition is pretty reasonable as well. It is just utterly savage that the one time we were ready to cast this and it was going to be very good, it was the card discarded off of Gamble. So, Joey, we tried to slime people. We tried to do some green storm stuff, but I think it is back to the drawing board. And even though this is a janky brew, it might not be the right time for it. Once we live in a world where Tamiyo isn't legal and you don't have to worry about a 1 mana card just invalidating the like 1/1 tokens that this entire build is built around, maybe it becomes slightly more reasonable to do this. But Tamiyo is essentially an I scoop to this card. And that is what it is. It could also be that you play a small number of Grape Shot in this deck as a way to finish off the game. Like, you put a bunch of Squirrels into play and Grape Shot your opponent on the same turn. Grape Shot takes out about a third of their life total, and then Chatterstorm finishes it off over 2 turns. That's not crazy either if you don't want to go all the way up to empty mana. But I don't know that what we're messing around with here is better than just playing an established Storm deck. TES or Ant or Ruby Storm. But it was a fun way to spend a couple of hours. So with that, I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. See ya!